Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to see you here. I am the second time in Madrid here at Imagura, and I know that a lot is happening in Spain in terms of blockchain, so but not here in Madrid and Barcelona. I do hope that we will see more projects coming from Madrid as well. So I'm representing Cyberfund, and we've been actively involved in blockchain space, so to say, since 2014. We've been analyzing this space, we've been investing in different blockchains, and we've been developing different blockchains. So we have quite an expertise, and I will share some knowledge with you today. So blockchain economy. But we will start with this nice slide, Google Trends. So as you can see, we had two spikes in 2013 and in 2017 in terms of interest to this area. And as you probably know, they were both connected to the Bitcoin price. So in 2013, the Bitcoin price grew to $1,000, and in 2017 to $20,000. So this is what we have when the price grows. But then, so afterwards, the interest declines usually. However, blockchain is much more than just a price. So these are the characteristics of different blockchains, and it would be nice for you to know them, just to be able to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about blockchains. So blockchains are programmed, and there is always an algorithm inside, so it's not a magic. And they basically are databases, unchangeable databases, and distributed databases. So you can write down any information you want, but you can't erase any information from there. They do have inbuilt consensus mechanisms, so the databases have to be built somehow, and they're built using different consensus mechanisms. So these mechanisms, they're not similar, they're different. It's worth knowing. Then they do have native tokens. And these tokens, basically, they provide you an access to the blockchain. Without Bitcoins, you can't access Bitcoin blockchain. So you can't do anything with the Bitcoin blockchain. So you need Bitcoins for that. It's a very important thing. And then you do have public and private keys, and you need them to run your tokens, basically, any tokens that you have on any blockchain. Without private key, you own nothing, because the private key is the most important thing in terms of ownership. So blockchains are open source, and it's very important thing because they could be copied, they could be forked, and they could be improved very easily. And the growth that we see right now in this particular space is thanks to this particular feature. It's very easy to find any blockchain on GitHub and then just to analyze it and to fork it and do your own blockchain based on what you see on GitHub. Then another thing, very important thing as well, smart contracts. Not all blockchains have smart contracts, but then those that do have, they're very successful, because smart contracts basically are the programmable contracts, and they allow you to program any operations, any economic operations on a blockchain. And they're very important indeed. Because as we see right now, a lot of people call blockchains the next internet due to smart contracts. Because smart contracts enable autonomous devices, and then they enable decentralized autonomous organizations. And it's very important because we all know that we will be living in a automated, fully automated world very soon. So you will have driverless cars going to not gasoline but electricity stations, and just paying for electricity by themselves. And you will see autonomous plants, factories, etc., etc. and they all will be economic agents acting by their own. And it's very important because everything is possible on blockchain due to the properties that we talked earlier: tokens and smart contracts and unchangeable databases. Coming back to market. So last year, uh, we saw a very um, nice capitalization, I would say so. The market grew to more than 600 uh, billions of US dollars. But what is more important is that we saw a decline in Bitcoin share. So right now we have more different blockchains than we had in 2016 or 2015. A lot of these blockchains are in development stage, but we do see uh, more blockchains than just forks of Bitcoin, so to say. And it's very important because this space is growing not thanks to Bitcoin, but to other blockchains as well. So professionals started talking about blockchains as assets last year. And this is a slide with the comparison between traditional financial assets and blockchain assets. As you can see, there are lots of similarities. And then there are the features that are uh, native to blockchain, so to say. Open source code, programmability, auditability. So it's very easy to audit any blockchain because they're public. So you can do it by yourself. You can monitor them by yourself. And accessibility. So even if you have a dollar or a cent, you can invest into blockchains. And it's very important because there are almost no barriers for anybody in terms of investment into this space. Definitely. When we're talking about blockchains as assets, so now we have to compare the returns. And this is a nice comparison of different returns. So on different assets, as you can see from this slide, so it was very profitable to own the blockchains in 2016, and it was really very profitable to do so in 2017. So, um, however, blockchains are more than money once again. So the usage of blockchains. Uh, the proxy that shows us how different blockchains are used are the number of transactions in different blockchains. And so we see here different blockchains that are launched and are working. And so uh, as you can see from this slide, there are two types of blockchains that are popular, so to say, and in use. Uh, Social network blockchains, Steemit and Gallus. So Steemit is the leader in terms of transactions. These blockchains I am at the end users. So Steemit basically is comparable to Facebook or Medium. But there you are paid by the system for your posts and for your likes. So, and they are grown quite quickly. So the second type of blockchains is Ethereum blockchain and system similar to Ethereum, because these blockchains provide nice features, inbuilt smart contracts, and these blockchains are used to build blockchain applications upon them. And Ethereum is growing, as you can see from this slide as well, in terms of transactions. Okay, so now we will look a little bit deeper at two major blockchains, Bitcoin and Ethereum, just for you to learn some nice things. This is the price for Bitcoin. As you can see from this slide, it's very volatile, and it's normal because we're dealing with early stage product. And you can compare Bitcoin and any other blockchain with any startup you know, and it's quite normal if you have ups and downs for a product that is at an early stage. So, and what is important, that the price of Bitcoin is highly affected by the news, bad and good news. So, why? Because the news basically affect the adoption of blockchains. However, there are some other parameters that we monitor constantly, and these parameters had been growing slowly for Bitcoin for several last years. But this year, we see a slowing of in terms of growth. So the number of unique addresses has been growing more slowly, and the number of transactions per day has been growing more slowly than it used to grow. Mining. So, as you probably know, in terms of consensus mechanism, we have proof of work consensus mechanism for the Bitcoin. And this is something what is called mining. So you have to mine transaction, and for when you do so, you get a reward in this particular system. And what we see from this slide, the mining activities are concentrated in China. And it's very important to remember this. Why? Because we have capital allocated for these activities there. And it's a huge capital. And what is more important, these activities were heavily subsidized. So the price for electricity is quite high in China, but the local governments, they paid subsidies to the miners. In terms of exchanges, and also very nice slide. So we had activity concentrated in China for the last 2 years, but in the beginning of the 2017, there were restrictions introduced by the Chinese government, and we saw some diversification. So right now, we do have exchanges in Asia as well as in America. Ethereum. In terms of price volatility, so we see the same picture. So the price reacts on bad and good news. In terms of fundamentals, it's a different story. This system has been growing exponentially on year to year. And it is thanks to the number of apps that are being built on top of this system. What we will have next?
So you asked me if there's going to be a revolution. I think there's already a revolution happening. We're seeing it everywhere.
Honestly, I feel like blockchain is almost slipping through the cracks. They don't even see that we're a threat yet. If you have a decentralized entity that people can opt into, that starts performing services that the government used to provide, then what do you need these guys for? Bitcoin is the first real experiment in DAOs. It's the first DAO that ever existed.
What's a DAO? I mean, Decentralized Autonomous Organization is what it stands for, right?
Basically, a decentralized autonomous organization is an organization in which you can interact with it without having to go through an intermediary.
I think that's very important for us to have tools that are really censorship resistant.
We have evolved so much as a society, but yet our governance structures are hundreds of years old.
We had a long period of monarchies, right? And that was a very centralized form of governance. And we had a great evolution with democracies, right? Spreading that power a bit more. Now, I would argue that corporations are superseding nation states in terms of their power.
You're a digital serf right now, living on Facebook. You work the land, you work the feed, and they take all the benefit. They take all of the value, right? It's a free service where you are the product.
Systems tend to perpetuate themselves. In other words, capitalism tends to do what's best for the market, maybe not what is best for all the individuals who comprise the market.
Silicon Valley, they tend to fund projects or companies that are trying to solve very much first world problems. How do you get your food 5 minutes quicker? How do you get your Uber 2 minutes faster? Whereas with blockchain technology, we have the ability to fund initiatives that will produce true social good and provide value to the most undervalued parts of humanity.
This is the most egalitarian way to construct systems.
The culture is moving faster than the nation state can handle, right? We can have that same personal feeling that I have with my neighbor with the people in a chat room.
Traditional government institutions take a tremendously long time to fail, and when they do fail, there's usually violence, so we try not to let them fail.
But today, we are in the first time in history that we can actually try out new governance models without the need of people getting killed, because we can try those governance models from the comfort of our sofa.
In the mathematical realm, you cannot treat an algorithm with a gun.
Because it's unstoppable. It's open source code. The cat's out of the bag right away when someone has the idea.
Anything closed source is like saying, I'm a scientist and I've proved something, but I'm not going to show you how I proved it.
It's just free. You download it from the internet, it's open source, you want to enhance it, you do, and if you don't like it, you can just fork it.
And if we have means by which groups can connect to each other to form larger governance structures that govern the entire whole, then we have something that kind of is resembling a fractal structure.
If you think about kind of other examples of superorganisms, you know, like beehives and ant colonies, or even just the human body itself is a bunch of cells and microorganisms that are all working together in a single like human body as their environment.
But now what we have proliferating with crypto networks is actually these supranational protocols in which human activity can be governed on this international basis without nation states, without corporations.
So what it allows is for people to come together from wherever, and they can interact together, they can make decisions, they can share in the common enterprise, and then they can all benefit together.
Governance ends up being a really key part of making that work. And if you view blockchains from an evolutionary standpoint, this may be the most critical feature one could imagine.
Any organization of any kind, from your mom and pop shop to your decentralized autonomous organization, can create an entity on Aragon's network and use it for all kinds of things, like their cap table, like payroll, to show where their finances are going, for voting, for upgrades, to the way in which that organization works.
Aragon is a tool that I think will spawn many different early attempts at decentralized governance structures, which, if implemented well, will be powerful.
It's actually two components. So the first one is the Aragon platform to build and govern organizations, societies, and protocols. And the other part is the first digital jurisdiction that has ever existed, the Aragon network.
That doesn't happen very often in the real world. It's rare that you get to set up a new central bank or a new government. So I think we're going to be in sort of this Cambrian explosion of experimentation on both of those fronts.
But with any huge transition that happens in human history, they are very insistent in making us believe that we need them. So the incumbents are trying to use their marketing power, their communication power, their surveillance power to convince people that they still need them. But the market and the people will eventually figure out that they don't. And that will be the end of the establishment.
Okay, so it's a very nice clip, and it tells a story, basically a decentralized P2P story. So we are moving towards a more flatter society, so to say, and we are moving towards decentralized organizations that could effectively govern themselves. And we're talking about different types of organizations, not only companies or governments. We're talking about any type of organization. And this organization will consist not only of people, different entities, they will consist of robots as well. So you all should understand this simple thing. So, and what do we have? We have a lot of blockchain projects in development stage, basically. All of all of them, I think, on this slide are in alpha beta stages. Or in the last stages of prototyping. And as you can see from these slides, blockchains could be used in different areas, totally different areas. Uh, Blockchain is not about financial services. It's about IoT. It's about transportational and logistics, about energy, etc., etc. So why? Because of the properties that we discussed. So we do need unchangeable databases if we want to create some nice supply chain management systems. And if we want to track the product from the early stage to the end customer stage, we do need smart contracts if we want to create the decentralized economy of robots. And these are the companies like IRA that are building such things, and they in talks with different car makers who want to have driverless cars that will be able to act like economic agents. And we do have some startups looking for the energy space, because any household who could be a producer and a receiver of the energy, when especially we're talking about a renewable energy. And we do have some nice systems that could provide identification on blockchain. For example, UPod is running a pilot project with the local government in Switzerland, to government, and they put in people's identities on blockchain in order to use it later around the globe, starting from the Zug. And this is what we have, and these projects, they will appear on the market this year or next year, and you can test them, and I will advise you to try any of them at least. What do we have in terms of blockchain space? So it's a nice thing that we have a huge competition within this area. We had Ethereum for the last 3 years as the single system that allowed you to build blockchain applications on top of it, and had smart contracts and built smart contracts functionality. And now we have several companies building something similar, but not the same. So Tezos, EOS, Definity, and the like. So they want to have the systems that will provide developers with the same functionality as Ethereum, but would be better than Ethereum, because as you know, Ethereum has problems with scalability, huge problems, and the cost. Then what we have else in this area? We do have a huge competition between different companies in terms of blockchain systems that will provide bridges between different blockchains. So these systems, Cosmos, Polkadot, etc., so they want to create decentralized solutions that will allow you to transact and transmit different data from one blockchain into another, and use the data transmitted into the next blockchain, so to say. And this is very interesting, because what we will have eventually in this blockchain space will differ greatly from what we have in terms of internet, because as you know, we do have TCP/IP protocol, and it's just single protocol that we have for the internet. And here we will have different blockchains that will be used as basic protocols, and then we will have another systems, decentralized systems, that will connect and transmit data between them. And each and every system that is presented here is blockchain based, decentralized, and open source. Uh, ICOs. It's a very important topic because we had a huge problem several years ago with the funding, so to say. Um, Never ever in the human history open source project uh, uh, were funded sufficiently just because before blockchain, just before it was uh, not important for the big corporations, and it was not important for the humans because they couldn't see how they could get rewards back. So with the blockchain, we saw the rise of ICOs. Basically, it's crowdfunding mechanisms that allow you to put your money at an early stage into the idea that you want to be developed. And you do understand that this idea will be developed very transparently, so to say. So you will be able to monitor its development. You will be able to contribute to its development, and then you will get in return the tokens that will be liquid. So you will be able to get rid of the tokens via exchanges at any time you want. So it's a huge thing in terms of venture investment. And we saw the rise of ICOs in 2016. Then it was a boom in 2017. And in 2017, not only traditional blockchains were running ICOs, but also traditional businesses started running ICOs. However, you should remember that traditional businesses have all the limitations of traditional businesses. They are not open source, they are not transparent, etc., etc. So they are not similar to blockchains. They're even not global and not decentralized. So they couldn't give you the returns similar to blockchains because they're not similar to them. In terms of money usage, definitely there are lots of scam projects in this area, and it's dangerous to invest in projects if you don't know what are they about. However, the projects that are blockchain projects and that raised money for building blockchain systems. So they do still have funds and enough funds to build the whole system and to develop it later on. So, and what is nice that you can always track uh, the accounts where they have their money. Sources of investments. So it's important to mention that last year we saw a boom of venture funds aiming at investing in this particular area. So more than 200 funds raised around 5 billion US dollars, and these money are dedicated for blockchain space. Um, the corporations, they are looking at this particular space as well. And there are two alliances that were built, Hyperledger Alliance and Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. And the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance is growing quicker than the Hyperledger Alliance. And the corporations, they're using the code of Ethereum, public and open source code, and they're building private solutions uh, trying to optimize their business processes. And as you should understand right now, any business process where you have a lot of different stakeholders that don't trust each other could be optimized with the help of blockchain. So what else? Regulation. Regulation is very important because it affects this area. And what we see here is very nice indeed, because we see competition again. And competition is always good, because different countries, they compete with each other, trying to provide the best conditions for blockchain startups. Um, there are um, two, two categories of country, or three, I would say, three categories of countries. First of all, the traditional financial centers, because they really want to be prepared for the next future economy, so to say, blockchain-based economy. And Switzerland is leading, particularly because they right now really want to build a crypto valley there. So Zug Canton is the best place for any blockchain projects on this globe right now. Then we do have uh, uh, the second type of countries, like Japan or Germany. So the countries that put significant that really want to stay the leaders in terms of automation, and they understand how the smart contracts are connected to robots and automation. So they want to be able to move forward with blockchain as well. So, and then the third type of countries, these are the countries where we have a huge base of IT specialists, and this is Belarus, for example. So they had very nice legislation, very favorable to blockchain projects, because they have a lot of IT specialists who are building these projects. In terms of ICOs, the regulators are a little bit afraid right now because of the huge boom that we had in 2017. And they want to safeguard the investors. But then there is a competition between countries as well, because they do understand at the same time that they're competing for the venture capital. And this is what we have. So we have some countries allowing ICOs and providing services for ICOs, and then we do have some countries trying to restrict ICOs. And it's a very interesting story happening right now. In terms of global outlook, I do think that we're living in a very nice time, because we can shape the future of blockchains. So the sector is growing, and we have a lot of projects in development. So, and they attracted a lot of money, they raised a lot of money, so they will be able to build nice systems, blockchain systems. And we do have a competition between different blockchain systems. So eventually we will have the best who's gaining the market. And there will be not one or two projects, but many. So which is very, very good indeed. We do have a lot of investors looking at this particular area because of the returns, potentially huge returns. And it's good because we are talking about venture money, and at the very early stage. So, and then we do have a competition between the regulators from different countries, trying to attract the best talent and trying to develop the and to set up the new economy, blockchain-based economy, basically. So, and there are a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunities in this area for everybody. I really do think so. Thank you very much.